So coming back to our project, so if you remember, we have completed our employee, right? So we were able to create the employee and employee list was able to, we were able to show it. Then we done the operation of client also. Client is also available over here and we are able to create. Now in case of client, we use the model pop-up, but in case of employee, we navigated it to the different component because for employee, we had a bigger form. Okay. Now, if you again go back to the UI, sorry, API. So we had employee module, then client module. After you created employee, then you created client. After that, you have project. So in project also, we have project ID, sorry, client ID, because this project will belongs to a particular client, correct? Then once you create the project, again, so many related things are there with the project. So that will be adding employee to the project. So here also we have the project ID as a foreign key. Then project meeting. So here also we will have the project ID as a foreign key. Then project change. Here also we have the relation of project ID. Means once you create the project, there are multiple things which are related to the project. Okay. So if we go traditionally, like instead of normal pages we can create, but instead of doing that, when once you create the project, in the project list, you will have a detail button. And once you navigate to the detail, you will have 4 tabs at the top. Means employees, meetings, project change, and the billing. Because all those tabs will have the data related to the project. Okay. So we will create one page where we will do the CRUD operation of project. But in the project list, we will have a open button. And once we click on the open, then we will navigate to the detail page. And in the detail page, we will have tabs at the top. If you remember, we have created that reusable component to show the multiple tabs. And once we click on the particular tab, particular component will open. Means we are going to land with the particular project ID. So that particular project ID employee, that particular project ID meetings. So whatever the related data for that particular project, we will show into the one particular page. So instead of creating multiple pages, because all the data will be related to the particular project. So we will create a structure like that. Are you able to understand what I just explained? See, just how we have created client or how we have created employee. In particular component, we have completed the CRUD operation of particular module. Just like that, we can complete the CRUD operation of project change, project employee, project meeting in a separate component also. Okay. But instead of that, once we do the once we do the completion of CRUD operation of project, in the in the list of the table of project, we can have an open button, and then we will navigate to the open button with the project ID. And in that same component, we will render all the other component. Now, are you able to understand? Let me try to again explain it. Let's say you have a project list over here. Okay. And once you open a particular project, then you will have a tabs over here. One tab for employee, second tab for change project log, meetings. If you click on this, project employee component will open. If you click on this, another, let's say employee change meeting. Okay. So here in the URL, you will have project ID. Colon question mark is equal to something. Okay. When you navigate to this component, you will have ID or something, right? Which project you are opening. So by default, one tab will be selected. If you click on the employees working for this particular project will be visible over here. And here you can do the CRUD operation of the employees also. If you click on the change, project change log component will be visible. If you click on the meeting, project meeting component will open. Now understood?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, let me know. Otherwise, 3 times I have explained, but you have to let me know if you are able to understand it or not. Because see, when we work on the project, obviously there will be scenario, there will be logic. It's every time it's not going to be a very simple CRUD application page. Okay. So there are multiple ways to do that, but this is the proper way. Okay, instead of creating multiple pages and doing the CRUD operation, in each page we will have the project dropdown. Instead of doing that, all this data is related to the project. So we will open that in a detail page. Okay, able to understand or no? Because if you are not able to understand this, then code you won't be able to understand. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first I will create the project component, yeah, client project. Okay. So here we will load. Okay, we have already done that, I think. Uh, project. See, this only we did also, na? Right? So, but this project component is going to be showing the list of the project. Okay. We will need one more component, that is open project. Okay. So one more component I'm going to create, ng generate component or project detail. Okay. Now this component will have query parameter route, because once we are navigating to this component, we are going to navigate with the project ID. Okay. Let's create the route, parameterized route we are going to need. Project detail / project ID. Okay. And this will be project detail component. Okay. Now in client project, we just have to show the list of the, let's remove this. We don't need this right now. List of the project we have to show. Let's get the UI. Projects. Okay, bottom we will need the table. So container, we will just have a normal table, t head, tr, th. We just need to do the get API call integration, where we will show all the project info. Get all client project. Okay. So this API will get you all the project of all the client. Okay. Execute. So this API we need to integrate. Again, we have already created constant and everything. So everywhere we have to add it. So client, employee and master were there. Now we have to add one more entry that will be for project. Okay. Get all project. Okay. So here we just need the route name, last API name, actually method name. This will go over here. Okay. Now we added an entry of the API call method over here. Then we have to create the service also. We can create one. We have to create one more service. Ng generate service project service. Because in Angular 19 previously we were not giving like name like this, only project was sufficient. But now that service naming convention got changed, and sometimes if your component is also with the name project and service is also with the project name, it gets difficult to understand. So that's why if you are working with Angular 19, make sure if you are creating service, then add a name itself like that. Okay. Now over here, private HTTP HTTP client get all client project. Okay. Return this .http .get API call. Now our environment variable. So environment .api URL plus constant dot API method dot project. Currently we just have one key, get all project. Okay. Now this service we need to inject into our project component. So project service is equal to inject project service. Okay. Then on the page load, we need to do the API call. So ng on init implements on init ng on init get all projects. This dot your project service dot get all prime project dot subscribe from bracket result colon any. I'm not creating class or interface because again it will increase the timing only. I won't be able to complete the topic which we have to see then. If someone can help me at least complete the basic API call integration, let me know. Because see, like in client and the employee, we have done post and the get API, but update and the delete we haven't done because we have already seen that. So if you can help me, we will be able to complete the project. Because if I in the session only I'm writing those API call, you already know it also, and I to know, right? So there is no time to write that unnecessary code in the session, right? So if anyone can help me, just let me know. Otherwise that will be like that only. Then I won't be able to write the repeated code again and again. Just in the session we should be able to understand or take the new topic. Okay. So that's why update and the delete I have not completed. So project list colon any this dot project list is equal to res dot data. Okay. Now whatever the data we get, that we need to iterate onto the HTML. So t head, then t body, tr at the rate for loop on this variable, td, what data we are going to get, employee get all client project employee. I think this is who is going to lead the project. Okay. Project name, item, project name, start date, expected end date, client name. Okay. Name, start date, end date, client, and then last will be who is leading this project. So the employee name. Employee name is means who is leading this particular project. Okay. Now on start date and end date, we can add a date pipe. So again, we have to import it. Date pipe. Date dd hyphen mm hyphen yyyy. Right. This is how you pass the format to the date pipe. Let's save and check. CSS is missing, I think. Why API call is not coming? Okay, we didn't call the function on the page load. So this function we need to call it over here. Okay, so data is visible. Let's just add the table class. Okay, so whatever the projects are there, this is just the existing data that is available over here. Okay, Now in the table, we will have a action button. Leading employee. One more th we will have action. Okay. And in the td, we will have button class btn success open. Okay. Now on click of open, we have to navigate to the component which we have created, which will open the project. Okay. So here router link. Now if we have to use the router link, obviously we need to import it. Router link. So how many ways I have explained, like how do we navigate? First, from the HTML, we can use router link. Correct? Correct or no?
Yes.
What's the
Yes.
other way?
In routing, create
Navigate by URL.
Right? Navigate by URL, that also we can do. Now if you just want to navigate by this, so route, this is my route, then slash, and we have to pass the ID of the project ID. So we have to use the property binding, because here we are going to access the item dot, wait, single quote, then plus concatenation. What's that value? Client project ID. We need to navigate with the client project ID. Okay. Let's see if we are able to navigate. Something is error. Let's check what it is saying. Okay, slash we forgot. See, this error you will get when normally on the navigation. Say it properly. Currently our URL is with project. Okay. If I'm clicking on open, see how URL it is trying to navigate. Projects slash project details slash ID. But how should be our URL? How means how our route should get connected? Is this the correct route? Or what's wrong in it? What should be the actual route? How we will navigate to this particular route? Is this correct?
We need to add slash.
We don't need this na project, right?
We
Why
need
it
to
is coming?
create
Because we didn't add the slash over here. So it won't consider the absolute path then. So whatever the current URL is there na, after that it will append. But if you add the slash, it will consider the absolute, means localhost 4200. From that it will change. Okay. Now see, we are able to navigate. Okay. So from project, whatever the project we click, we are able to navigate to that project ID. Now in this component, we have to show the tabs. Okay. So we already have created the component for that, right? So this is the array. Project detail. Sorry, over here. So related data about the project, we have project details. Okay. Then technology. No, sorry. Project detail. Then we have employees. Then we have meetings happening for the project. Then we have change log. And then payment received for the project. These are the tabs I am going to use. So what's my component? My reusable component name is tab component. Okay. So that tab component I will import over here. Then in my HTML, let's create row column structure. App-tabs. It has only one input, that is tab list. Okay. And project tab. Let's save. Okay. Tabs are coming. Now this, when we created this reusable component, it has one output also. Once we change the tab, right? Currently, if you see, we are able to change it. But we need the callback in my parent component, because like that, I will show the respective component, right? So we need to implement the change event also. So this is my input, and output will be in the round bracket on tab change, on tab select. And while emitting the output, I'm going to pass the tab name also. So I need to catch that. So what do we write? $event over here. Then we need to create this function. Here I will say tab name colon string. Now I need a variable where we will store the current tab name. Data type string is equal to empty. By default, we will assign this particular first tab over here. Okay. And once we get the value that we will store into this variable. Now, so we need the remaining component also. Let's quickly create that. So all those components are related to the project. Okay. So what I can do, I will create a folder just to separate out. We can create all the component in the pages also, but again, just to separate out, I can create a project folder and all the component related to the project I will create inside this. So open a terminal over here. So first component ng generate component project employees. This is the first component. Then project meetings, project change, project payment. Okay. All the components which are related to the project I have created inside over here. Okay. 4 components I have created. So I have to create the routes of those also. Route.ts. It will be meeting. Actually, we are not going to need the route of this because we are going to render all this component in the project detail component. Okay. Let's not create the route because we are not going to need that. Now, in this component, once user change the tab, we are going to get the tab name over here. Let me print it also. Okay. So see, wherever we are clicking from that reusable component, we are emitting the value. That value we are receiving in the parent component. Now, this variable we will use dot row dot call 12 at the rate if current tab name equal to what's the first tab? Project details. Okay. We need one more component where we have to show the project detail also, the project which we are opening, the read-only mode or the editable mode. So this component, client project, we will use this component just to showcase the list. Okay. But we will need one more component to add and update, right? So we will need one more component. Let's create that. ng generate component new project or project form, because same component we use for add and update also. For this component, we are going to need the route, but for now I'm not creating it. So here, if the current tab name is project detail, so we have to render app hyphen project form component over here. Okay. Why it didn't imported? Project form component. Okay. Then at the rate else if, again, if this current selected tab is equal to employees, then here we have to render app hyphen project employees component we have to render. Let's all in employees change meetings project payment. Okay. Let's copy paste this. Meeting. If the selected tab is meeting, here we have to render project meeting component. Then change. And last one is payment. So if the selected tab is name is payment, we have to render our payment tab, payment component. Okay, so see now. So by default, you can see project form component is loading. If I click on employee, employee component, meeting. Now understood what I tried to explain earlier. So now on click of it, respective component will open. Okay, understood now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now if I load the employee component, so here in this employee component, project employee component, we are going to do the CRUD operation of project employee. Okay. But we are opening this with the project ID. So once I load on the employee, only employees which are working for this project ID should be visible, or all employees should be visible. Getting it? My question. See, by default, we are on the project management page. Once let's say bank ERP project I'm opening. So in the project form, we will show the particular project open, whatever the project ID is there, that particular project data, we need to show it over here. Correct? Understood this? Because we are in the edit mode now. In this tab, in this component, we have to show the project details with this ID, update mode. Correct?
Yes.
Just like that, if I click on the employee, here we have to show the list of all the employees working for this project. Correct?
Yeah.
Just like that, if I go to the meeting tab, here I have to show all the meetings happen for this particular project. So when you open this page, all the data in all the component you will be able to see for this particular project only. Correct? Understood now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But how we can now this project detail, the project ID is over here in the project detail component. Now in this component, we don't have a query parameter, right? So how we are going to access this in this component project meeting? Because let's say, where is that API call? Meeting. This API call we are going to integrate in the project meeting component, where we have to pass. I think we don't have the meetings yet, or let's see for which project we have the meeting. Project ID. Let's say 179 we are going to navigate towards the 179 ID. Anyway, so when we navigate to this detail component, this is the API which we are going to call. Get all project by meeting ID. So whatever the URL, whatever the query parameter you have, this ID you are going to pass to that API. But this ID is with your project detail component. So how you will pass this ID to this component, project meeting component? Because in this component, on the load of this component, we have to pass the ID with the API. But in this component, you don't have the ID. This ID is in your parent component, right? So how you will pass?
Activated route.
But in this component, you will get project detail. In meeting detail, you won't get, na? Because this is your parent component, na? In this component, project detail component, you will use the activated route and you will be able to read the ID also. But how you will get that ID over here in this component, or even employees also? In all the child component, we are going to need this ID. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How you are going to pass this ID to this component?
While navigating,
No, we are not going to navigate. See, we are rendering by the selector. So no navigation is there. How you will pass this ID to this component? Try to think.
At the rate input.
Input, no?
Parent child.
See, in the parent component, you have the ID, so that you can pass it over here. So whatever the component we have created, every component will have one input, that will be project ID. Understood? Okay. Now, where you are rendering this in the project detail component, which component we have created? Project employee. First, you need to read the data. Okay. So in the parent component, constructor, round bracket private, activated route dot params dot subscribe. Okay. Current project ID number 0, and this ID we will catch it over here. Res dot, what was our route name, parameter name? That way same thing we have to use, project ID over here. Now this variable you will pass over here. Taking time to load. Project employees only we have created now. Project ID is equal to this variable. Okay. Now in your project employee component, let's try to print it also. Okay, if I go to the employees now, see whatever the ID we have it over here, it is rendering over here. Now again, same CRUD operation you will do. Okay, if I talk about the employee, see, this is the object. Here, project ID, you don't have to show the drop down because project ID already you have it in this variable, right? So in the UI, what you need, just the employee drop down and the added date in the form. Here you will have the form of the project employee, right? So here you will show the table and here you will have the form. So in the form, what parameter you will have? Just the employee drop down and the added date, because project ID you already have it in this variable, right? And when you do the get API, instead of doing get all project employees, you this API you will do get employees by project ID, and this employee ID you will pass it. So in all this component, you will do the normal CRUD operation. But instead of having the project ID drop down, that project ID you already have it. Let's consider if you don't have a component like this. So what you could have done, you could have created multiple component. We already did that. We have created a route, and every component, wherever we have the project ID, we would have created a drop down, right? But all this data is related to a project. So instead of creating different component and having project drop down over there, so all this data is related. So we created a detail page of the project and all the components are rendering over here, and whatever the project we are opening, that ID we are passing over here. Got it? This is what I wanted to explain. So when we work on an actual project, see, when we talk about project, it's just the API call, right? But according to the UI, according to the theme combination, according to the user friendliness, we create designs like this, right? Instead, if we don't like this, all this menu will be there. Everywhere user has to select the project and everything, right? But this is better way. Got it? So once we open a particular project, all the project data, project detail, employees working for that project, meetings happen for that particular project, change happen, payment received, everything data you can see in a single page. Understood? Understood or no?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in all the component, you have to do the normal CRUD operation, but like as I explained for the employee, you don't have to show the employee drop down, project drop down, because project ID you already know. Same in meeting also. Add update project meeting. Here also we have project ID. So you don't need to show the drop down. That project ID you already have it in the input. So you just need to design the remaining things only. Understood? Clear? So I will now need the help of everyone to complete this respective CRUD operation of this component. I will push the code with input and I will push I have asked that this also. So UI is I think ready. So you just have to do the normal CRUD operation. I will just push this UI also by copy pasting. So you just have to do the API call integration of all this component. Okay. So while assigning, I will assign the name for every component who will be taking care of this. So respective person has to complete the basic API call integration of this all four component. Okay. Just while creating the project means like if I show you the example of employee. So what you will do, this is your object, right? So you will create an object, new project employee colon any like this. But here, once you create the object after that in constructor, what you will do, this dot employee object project employee dot project ID is equal to this variable. Sorry, not in the constructor. On the ng on it, you need to do it like this. Instead of doing that in ng on it, you can do it. Because in the constructor, you don't get the value of input. This thing will go over here. Okay, so now in the form, you just have to create the employee dropdown and the added date picker. That's it. This is by default primary key, so we have to send it 0 only. So just like this in every component, you have to do like this. So no need of the project dropdown in your UI. Project ID will be hard code over here, whatever the ID you get it. Understood? Let me share another meeting. Okay, just join again. Okay, so clear what we have to do. Again, normal CRUD operation only we have to do. Just project ID we are already getting in the input. The remaining things you have to show into the form. Clear everyone? And respective APIs are also like that. Instead of for get API, instead of using the get all, use this where we have to pass the project ID. Everywhere you will be able to find the API which has the project ID as a parameter. Change by project ID, payment by project ID. See, everywhere we have the respective API like that also. Okay. Now anyone wants to like, I can assign the name, respective person can complete. Okay. Or if you want, you can tell me like the same component, you can start working. Clear all? At least start wherever you are facing the issue. Let me know. Again, we will connect. Okay. But just the normal
Yes,
CRUD
sir.
operation we have to do now. Just project ID, you already have it. In the UI, you don't have to show the project dropdown. Okay. Now, yesterday I have explained like interview preparation. So today Swarali connected with me. So she was having doubt like we have seen the pipe and we have seen the directive. Now the real time scenario, right? What was the example we have seen for the pipe?
Uppercase. First letter is upper.
What was this doing? Okay, if we have a full name, so like first name, middle name, last name will be there. So first name and last name we have first character we have given, right? So was a real time. Okay, but again, obviously this one example won't be sufficient for you. But if you want to practice more example or if you want to see the real time example of pipe, so use the chat GPT. So now how I do it? So your prompt should be, let's say you want to see what are the various ways or what are the various scenarios where we can create the custom pipe. So you can say, I know what is pipe and why we need custom pipe. Now we have to ask, can you provide real-time examples of custom pipes which are normally needed while working on industrial projects. Okay, let's see. So phone number formatter. You might have seen like at least Indian number or USA number is like separated by hash or a dot. Anyone have seen? Like 91 will be in a round bracket and remaining number will be shown apart from the number. So this is the pipe for that, like this. In our Indian case, it will be plus 91. This is a USA format, but Indian format will be like plus 91 and then remaining, right? So like this is also very real-time example. Then again, truncate pipe. If you have a very big characters and you don't want your UI to break, let's say an employee, we are having, let's say if we say this email ID, our UI structure is like that, like maximum, let's say this is all 20 to 30 character. Let's say someone has long name, so email ID can be long. So if it is very so many characters are there, so your UI might break. If your email ID is so long, so your UI might break. So if we don't want to break our UI, so we use a pipe to truncate the text to small one. So that is the pipe. It will have parameter like we can pass maximum 20 character. How many maximum characters you need to show? So like that we limit it and we add dot dot dot. So short, just to make the long text short one. Okay. Then file size formatter. What it does, convert your okay KB bit. See, whenever we work on an application, most of the application it has some upload functionality, right? We upload it, but from the API, and sometimes when you upload, you have to show the size also. Let's say you have some functionality in your project where you upload some attachment. You and from the API you get the attachment name, uploaded date, and the size also. Size we normally get in the KB, right? But we have to show that inside if it is less than 1 MB, so we have to show it in the KB. If it is greater than KB 1200, so we have to show it in the MB. If it is greater than 1000 MB, so we have to show it in the GB. So this is also a pipe for that. So here we will pass the byte what we get, and based on that we will convert it, either it falls under the MB category or GB category or KB category. Okay. Then date formatter we don't have to create it actually because we already have it. Okay, time ago. So this is like I don't know, like you have seen application where on Stack Overflow or Facebook also. Let's see Stack Overflow or YouTube. See here, 1 day ago it is coming. Here updated now, or here 2 hours ago, or 9 days ago. Now, how it might be getting calculated like it is 9 day ago or 1 day ago? In database, it will be like that 1 day ago, 2 day ago. Getting it? This I'm saying. How it will be in the
No, sir.
database? In the database, it will be like created time, na, when this video got published, right? We will have the
Yes,
date or
yes.
time. So by using that data time and current time, so it will calculate and say like this is was 1 day, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. So we have a pipe for that. So it will take the current date and it will calculate and it will take like it is like 1 day ago or minute ago, and like that if else statements are there. Got it? Then shape HTML. So we in Angular we cannot show inner HTML means if you want to append HTML code, let's say in a variable you are getting some HTML code. How do you bind that HTML code into any div? By using JavaScript. Let's say you have a variable where string HTML is equal to, and inside this element you have actual HTML tag. Okay. How do you bind this in HTML? Normal JavaScript in a div. How do we bind this, the data or the HTML code we have in this variable? How do you bind it
Inner
to a normal
HTML
div? Inner HTML,
document
right?
dot.
But in Angular, we cannot directly use or we cannot directly bind this. So to allow it, we have some sanitize. So we have to use the sanitizer. So that is the pipe for that. Wherever you have to bind the inner HTML, you can use this inner HTML, but while providing the value, you have to use the pipe also. So it will sanitize the HTML code. Okay. Sometimes we have to show the badges, like if you have a status, if status is active, inactive, if it is active, you have to show this, like, right? So you can see in the class also we are able to use this. Here we are providing the status, but we are using the pipes. So the return will be, if the status is active, we will return batch success, batch secondary. These are the classes from your bootstrap. If I go to the bootstrap, where is the badges? Badges. See, these are nothing but badges I'm saying. So these are nothing but your classes. Okay. So these are some example of your custom pipe. Let's try to ask same for the directives. Provide similar example for custom directives also. Again, like mostly use directives also, it will showcase. Autofocus directive. Let's say you have a form. Okay. And by default, first element, first, let's say, if we go over here, add new. So now this employee full name, this is our first text box. So this should get highlight like this, means focus. This should be in focus, right? So for this also we create custom directive. So that is autofocus directive. So wherever you add this, that will be by default in focus. Let's say you have to allow number only. How do you allow a number only? Let's say this is the, where would we have mobile number. This is your text box for the mobile number, and you don't want to allow characters to be typed. How you do that? You don't want user to allow enter the characters, only number should be allowed. How to do that without using custom directive?
Type number.
Type number. But when we say type number, we get that anchor tag over here, right? Anchor symbol over here. Correct? But if you want to go with input type text only, but you want to disable that, but you want to enable the number, so you can create a custom pipe for that. And what's the event listener? Key press. So every time key press, we are checking the key code. If the key code falls under, means every keyboard button we have now, each have a unique key number. So if it falls between this, so we will ignore that key press event. So that is app number only. Click outside directive. If user click outside, we have to do something. So that is the outside directive. Then debounce click. Why do we prevent button from being multiple time? What it does? This will be very hard. Highlight directive we have already seen. Role-based directive. Let's say your application supports multiple role-based multiple roles are there. And if a particular role is there, let's say if the role is guest one, so you don't want to show this edit and the delete button. If the logged in role is guest, he can only see the information. He should not be allowed to edit and the delete. So we can create a custom pipe where we will check the logged in role, and either we will disable this button or we will remove it also. So here they have cleared it. Okay, embedded view is one other, what do we say? How we get the reference of that particular inner HTML. Okay, so we can either we can disable the button also, because by that element ref we get the access of the element, so we can add some class to disable the button also, or we can remove the button also. So if the role is guest, we will either disable the button or we can remove the button also, and that code we will write it in the pipe, sorry, directive, because in almost every page we have to write that functionality. So in every page, by checking the role and disabling or enable, instead of writing that code in the component, we are moving that code into our custom directive. So this is the example for that. Okay, let's say very small. Again, let's say if you want to create a tooltip, so we can ask, let's say, can we create custom directive to create a tooltip? Okay, let's see. Again, obviously, whenever we are interacting with the chat GPT or any TI tool, if we pass any question, it will provide you a generalized solution. If you need anything else, you have to ask it. Okay. So see, you can create a tooltip by using a directive also. Again, by using means create element adding a class and everything from normal JavaScript. How do you create element? How do you create a class or something like that? So everything we have to do. Okay. So this is also example. This is actually a good example when you have to explain it in the interview. Means by using a custom directive, we can create a tooltip also. Okay. So like this, you have to practice, because obviously we cannot take all the example or so many example of pipe or so many example of custom directive while working in the project only, because according to the project need we create it. But for your practice, you have to interact with the chat GPT and get the scenarios like this, and then you have to do the practice. Got it? So every time, let whatever the topics we are seeing, basic idea I will clear, but again one or two example I will explain. Like reusable component, we have seen 4 reusable component, right? What are those? Alert tab, my button component, progress bar, tabs. You can ask chat GPT also, what are the various ways of reusable component I we can create in Angular. It will provide you so many list of reusable component, so that you have to now interact with the AI tool and do the practice of the same. Getting it? Otherwise, you will be very limited. Whatever the example we see, you also have to think what other examples are there, or what other requirements are there where we can use custom pipe, or where you can create the custom directive, or even reusable component also. What code we can keep it in a reusable component, right? Like this, you also have to think. Then only your knowledge will also grow. Okay, clear, guys? Anyone having any question? Okay, so I will push this code. I will add the input in every component. So respective person, whatever the name I say, everyone has to complete the CRUD. Okay, I will create the UI also, basic HTML code, and I will put it over here also. You just need to do the API call integration. Okay, but again, follow that constant class interface you have to create. Okay, don't go with any. I'm doing it any because I don't want to waste that time over here. But when you are doing it, at least take 2 days to complete this. But do it properly. Create constant, create class interface and everything. Okay. And again, in the same component, you have to do the whole CRUD operation. Use that column, one column for the table and one column for the form. So in the same component, we have to complete everything. Fine. Clear all? Anyone having any doubt? Okay, fine then. Let's connect tomorrow morning. I will share recording sometime.